Welcome back, everyone. We're going to do another episode today of bad answers. I did one last month and you guys really liked it. It was interesting. Now, again, you got to keep in mind, we're not making fun of the questions people ask because most of them are beginners. That's fine. There's so much to learn in photography. We all had crazy questions. What I'm getting at are the answers from people who think they know what they're talking about, but they're giving the world's worst advice. So let's get started and let's get into this, see what you guys think. This is why you have to be careful where you get your information from. When I press the button to take a picture on my Canon R6 Mark II, it delays before taking the picture and says busy. Why and how do I fix it? Well, we have some answers on this one. Scott, he says a 64 gig card should be fine. Okay, 64 gig. What speed is that 64 gig card or just any 64 gig card going to work? You'll see all these people are about to go in the wrong direction. And it just kind of snowballs from there. And it confuses the person that asked the question until they finally end up making the wrong decision. I'll show you. The person that asked the question right below that answers and says, I have 128 gig in it now. Is that too much? Okay, again, these are sizes, not speeds. But that's the person asking the question. That's the new person. So, you can't blame them for asking. If this person says a 64 gig card should be fine, maybe they do think their 128 is too big and they think that's what's slowing it down. But let's keep going. This one is really interesting. This is from Steven. Forget about using SD cards. At 100 megabytes, they are very slow, way slower than the CF Express cards. And the prices have been coming down. So I would use a CF Express card. Well, there's one problem with that on the Canon R6. The Canon R6 Mark II doesn't take CFS Express cards. So why are you answering this question if you don't know that the Canon 6D Mark II takes SD cards that don't take a CF Express card? So tell them that a CFS Express card is so much faster is absolutely of no value to them, because if they had 20 of them, they're still not going to fit in the camera. But anyway, the poor person trying to get all these answers to his question. So anyway, the poor guy that asked the question, he said, okay, good, I'm going to buy a 32 gig card and see if that works. Okay. It's not the size of the card that's the problem. It's the speed of the card that's probably the problem. I don't have the camera in front of me. There are other things it could be, but the size of the card is not going to make it slow down. You have the speed of the card where the problem is, and they've got him so confused he's just going to go buy a smaller card, which means nothing. He's got to have the right speed. Anyway, we'll just move it along. You see where these bad answers are taking people that ask legitimate questions, and they get them so confused, and then they go do the wrong thing. This just drives me crazy. There needs to be some kind of website where it's official and you got people that know what they're doing to help these people out, because all this Facebook, these random groups on stuff, they just don't know what they're talking about. They're just throwing stuff out and they're not helping the person at all. Now they're going to go waste money on a 32 gig card when all they need is a faster memory card, unless they've got some kind of camera malfunction, which we'll never know because I don't have the camera and we're just going by what's said on here. But from the question, the first answer, kind of like Occam's razor, the simplest answer is usually the correct one. And getting a smaller card is not the answer. Getting a faster card is probably going to be your answer. Moving along. All right. I am new to the group and photography. Could anyone explain if the Canon EOS 2000D is full frame, and is it a good starter camera? Thank you in advance. Guy named Ziv says, buy a Canon RP. That wasn't part of the question. The question was, could anyone explain if the EOS 2000D is full frame and if it's a good starter camera? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the RP, but that's not really the question they ask. Moving along. Here is an interesting question that I caught. Selling Canon EOS R6 Mark II and Canon 50mm 1.8. This was purchased brand new from Adorama, and I've only taken about 15 photos with it. There's nothing wrong with the body or lens. It was an impulse purchase, and Adorama does not allow cash refunds. Now, right there, something's weird. I've been buying from Adorama since the 80s. I've never tried to return something and them say, no, we don't give you your money back. I mean, if you've destroyed the camera or something like that, they may have refused it. Who knows what the truth is behind it. But Adorama gives refunds, so don't go on a site and say Adorama doesn't give cash refunds. Now, they might not bring cash to your front door in a suitcase, but they will give you a refund to your card, credit on your credit card or your debit card or whatever you used. So just to say stuff like that about a major company is just kind of unfair, because I've been dealing with Adorama for over 40 years and they do refunds. In fact, I just sent a refund back to them 2 weeks ago. Not a problem. I promise. Adorama gives refunds. And here's one of my favorites. Looking into starting to take wedding photos. Anyone have any advice? I'm using a T7 and a 50mm lens. I don't know what it is about everybody who just want to do weddings. I think if they have a camera and a lens, they are set to shoot wedding photography. That is the furthest thing from the truth. It takes years of training under another photographer, years of training to do wedding photography properly, and using an old Canon crop sensor with a 50mm lens is not the way to go. But let's see what our answers are. Paragus, or however you say his name. This is his answer. If it's full frame, you can go with a 50mm lens. For crop sensor, it's too tight, especially for group shots. Okay, well, let's stop here for a minute. You're answering a question about this person who wants to go photograph weddings, but you don't even know if their camera's full frame or crop sensor. And you say, if it is full frame, you're okay with a 50mm lens. That means you're going to shoot the entire wedding with one lens. But if it's a crop sensor, don't do it, because that'll put it up to about an 85, and that's too much. You just can't do a whole wedding with one lens, a 50mm. You need multiple lenses, multiple cameras to do a wedding. So don't throw out stuff. I mean, it's obvious he doesn't know the answer to the question, because he doesn't even know if it's a full-frame camera or not. So don't start giving advice to people when you don't even know what they have. You could have at least done a quick Google search to see. But anyway, I don't understand why everybody thinks they can just, I got a camera, I got a lens, I'm going to start booking weddings this year. I'm going to book 50 weddings, and that's going to be the way I'm going to retire in a few years, rich and wealthy with my Canon T7 and my 50mm lens on my, I don't know whether it's a crop sensor or full frame, but we're going to do it. Anyway, the answers are so much worse than the questions. They just should not answer questions that you don't know the answer to. It'd be like going to a doctor, and they're not a real doctor, let's say, and they just start throwing, here, take some of this medicine right here. It might help you. It could help you. Who knows what might happen? You could die, but take it. It'd probably work. I don't get it. Now, this person, Canon EOS R or Canon EOS RP. I do portrait photography. Thanks for your input. Okay, so they're already doing portrait photography, so this is not a beginner. Why would you ask this question if you're a portrait photographer to a bunch of amateurs if you're already shooting portrait photography? Maybe he just wanted to see what kind of crazy answers he could get. But I mean, you know, portrait photography, your lenses are going to matter more. I would pick the Canon EOS R, but I don't know anything about the situation. So when somebody says, what camera should I buy? You can't answer that. Are they going to be shooting wildlife? Are they going to be shooting macro? Are they going to be shooting weddings? Every camera has a different purpose and uses different type of lenses. So what is the camera I should buy is not an answerable question. You have to know more than just that to answer somebody's question. Now, if they're new, they don't understand this. That's why it's our job to tell them this. You can't just say, oh, go buy the Canon R6. That's the one you need. Because it depends. Maybe you do need a Canon R6. Maybe you need the Canon 6. Maybe you need the Canon R5. Maybe you need the Canon R3. Who knows? But without more details, we just can't give you that answer. And this goes along the same lines. For those who have the Canon R6 Mark II, is it worth $2,200? It looks good and I like it. And Andrew says, I shoot video and the video is awesome. Well, that's great. But that doesn't really answer. He doesn't tell us. He's asking about the R6 Mark II. Is it worth $2,200? To me, would it be worth $2,200? Yes, it would be worth $2,200 to me because I shoot weddings. Would it be worth $2,200 to somebody that's shooting something totally different? Maybe, maybe not. So it's not an answer. It's not a yes or no question that you can just throw out an exact answer and that's it. There's a lot of details goes into this. Anyway, I think people like to answer things just to make themselves feel better. I'm not quite sure. I wonder if anyone could give me some advice due to the torrential downpour. I have had water leakage into my Canon 100 to 400 lens. There is now a watermark within the first element, just below the blah, blah, blah. We were selling in the Indian Ocean. Anyway, and he wants to clean it himself. Well, I don't think, and again, I'm going to answer this question without having the knowledge in front of me, but I'm pretty sure, I wouldn't put the answer down unless I looked this up first, but I'm pretty sure that 100 to 400, that $600 zoom that Canon has, the RF, I'm pretty sure that's not weather sealed. Don't bet anybody on that. That's just off the top of my head. I can look it up and see. I didn't leave an answer for this person because I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure it's not weather sealed, not for that price. Usually you have to get in the L lenses before you get the weatherproofing. So the best thing is before you go out and get in the rain is to know whether your camera and your lenses and your flashes and all that are weather sealed. Don't just go out and go, oh, I guess it wasn't weather sealed. Now I'm out of lens. Now you're out $600. So anyway, just, it only takes a little bit of Googling. We've got so much information at our fingertips nowadays. You can just get the information straight from the manufacturer. You can get it straight from Canon. You don't have to go on a website where people are just making up stuff to give you answers. Go straight to the source to find out the answer. Go look up your Canon 100 to 400 on Canon's website. It'll tell you whether it's waterproof or not, and know that information before you get caught in a heavy downpour. So kind of it's like common sense, but I don't know what possesses people to do that kind of thing. I mean, if I'm shooting a wedding and it's outside and I've got a lot of my cameras are weather sealed, I still have the case that goes over the entire camera just because, the more protection, the better. So with that said, I'm one of those guys. I back up multiple times. I take extreme cautions on everything. So maybe it's just my mindset versus other people's mindset. It could be. But some of the answers he got about his wet 100 to 400 lens. One person, not bad advice, do not take your lens apart yourself. You'll never get it back together. That sounds like a good idea. That's a good idea. I definitely wouldn't take my lens apart. You will never get it back together. All right, and this will be our last one. Hey guys, planning a trip to London, and ideally only really want to take one lens. I have amazing gear, but if I could only take one all-day around lens out of the list, which would you take? Would you take the Sigma 105 macro, the Sigma 70 to 300, the Canon 18 to 55, or the Canon 50 millimeter? First guy, Lee, says, if you really only take one, I guess it would have to be the 18 to 55. But what is your f-stop on the 18 to 55? Is it 3.5 to 5.6? Because up top, if you read more about his question, it says, mostly walk about London, Big Eye, and also want to do some night photography. So a 3.5 to 5.6, 18 to 55 lens isn't going to help you in that category. I would probably say take your 50 millimeter and shoot with it because it's probably 1.8. Now, again, we don't know what kind of camera he has. We don't know if he has a full frame, a crop sensor, or what the case may be. But just off what we know on that question, I would say the 50. Now, there's 2 or 3 other people on here that give some answers. Ronald says, take the 24 to 105 f4. I would suggest that. Problem is, it's not on the list of the lenses they have, but other than that, 24 to 105 is a great walk-around lens, but if you don't have one, it's not going to help you very much. So anyway, you guys can see, if you need answers to your question, Facebook, photography groups, and other photography groups online are not the place to get the answers from. Talk to a pro. There's a lot of us guys on YouTube that will just write us a question. We'll give you an answer. We'll help you out for free. There's no charge. Or go Google, go directly to Canon's website or Sigma's website and do some research on your own and find out the answer, and stay off these weird, crazy sites where people just throw out questions and people just really make up answers. Stay off of that. Go to the manufacturer's website and find out, is my lens weather sealed? If you're not sure whether your Canon's full frame or not, if you're not sure whether your camera's full frame or not, go look it up on your website, on your manufacturer's website. If you're not sure whether your camera is a full frame or a crop sensor, go look it up on the manufacturer's website. If you're not sure whether it's weather sealed, look it up on the manufacturer's website. You can get all this information off Google. It's much more dependable than it is just asking random people on the internet because they just make up crazy answers to go with the questions. So again, here we are in this crazy world we live in. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. I'll help you any way I can. I won't steer you in the wrong direction. I don't know everything, but I know a good bit, and I'll share what I do know. But anyway, we're not making fun of anybody asking questions. We are having problems with people giving wrong answers, and that is not acceptable. People will not get better when you're giving them the wrong answers. They will waste money. They will waste time. They'll get frustrated. They'll put the camera up. They'll stop doing photography altogether just because you gave them some wrong answer because you didn't know the answer to the question. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. Get your information from a reputable source. And if we're helping you guys out, please hit that subscribe button. Y'all have a good day.